Welcome. What's going on, familia? Welcome to the Sam Cologne Show, a.k.a. The Messenger. And today we're going to dive deep on a previous episode that we talked about. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And guess who I got with me? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. My boy V. What's
going on?
All right, what's going on, brother? So, you know, I'm excited to dive into this topic. I always love to hear your.
It's a fact. I mean, because it's relative. You are the teacher that appeared when the student was ready. So for the past 4 years?
Yeah.
We were rocking?
Yeah.
It's always that. I consider you like a spiritual dad. Even though you're younger than me, I know spirits age differently. So you could be 100 years. This could be a 37th visit here on this plane. But yeah, I appreciate the lessons that I'm able to actually take, actually apply, and actually see benefit from. So
nice. Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I still remember that. Like, was that the first or the second time that we were in Gabe's house?
that was the first time.
That's the first time?
First time.
Damn, that must have been like kind of crazy for you. You bold to still be around.
Yo, because you know what it is? Like you said, when at that time I was finding my own footing, like in the spiritual landscape. Growing up Islamic, Christian, Buddhist, like having all of those different modalities, learning that there's truth in all of them, but none of them is the truth. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
So, and my dad used to always say, you treat religion like a house. You get what you take the nutritional value out of it and you leave the rest. Basically, eat the meat, spit out the bones. And when we met, it was like perfect timing. It was the medicine that I didn't know I needed at the time, because it opened up a pathway that, being a spiritual person, you always look at somebody who don't curse, stay square. The life experience is always, you know how super Christians be. It'd be like, well, I used to do that, and now that I don't do that no more, my amnesia has set me so far apart that how could you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I remember the first story you were telling me about your journey, and I was like, damn, so you know the language. It's like to be in the church where you go to church 8 days a week, Bible study every day, Sunday school every day, even on Fridays. Those type of people understand what it's like to be in a trance of religion as opposed to being in the abundance of spirituality.
Yeah.
And that was like a space that was like, damn, I didn't know that exists. And you're not the typical spiritual person, like what's being portrayed as the spiritual person. You think of Deepak Chopra, or you think of Sadhguru, or somebody like that.
Oh, you think about these guys that wear like those the hats, right?
Yeah.
Hats.
It's a fact.
Also, shirts that it's V-neck with the two little buttons and stuff, like see through, and they're like,
open your mind.
Yeah.
Don't let your mind fall from your face. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I can dig it. But you know, the part that that again, like I'm like, you both sustaining around was, you know, the storylines. I could see how it can click, right? Like the fact that I was a part of the church, which we haven't even touched on that.
Oh,
like that's something that we definitely want to touch.
Like a whole hour.
Yeah. And I was heavily involved in the church, being a board member and the whole nine. And I could get how you could have those connections, but what happened that day, like the lights flickering, you know, certain like shifting energy and space and time, and you know, and both you and Gabe like, what the fuck is going on? And Gabe already know me, so even though Gabe knew me for years, he still was like, yo, what the hell are you doing in my house?
What's happening here? I took it as confirmation though. Like I was in the right, because what you were saying at the time, it was like almost like a amen, or like a that's the truth, or like oh you don't know, I bang.
Yeah.
So it was like in that moment, I'm like, nah, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
'Cause this shit don't happen nowhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to take it like, oh my God, who's this guy? It's like, nah, oh my God, who is this guy? He got a link. Because it was something I needed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
On a spiritual level,
like
you needed that. And the thing is also, like, people look at like supernatural shit, right? What we will call supernatural, right? Because of the ignorance that we've been put through, right? They look at that stuff like, and they get scared, like, oh, and Hispanic is like, ooey, it's like, ooey, cut it out, which is real. I assume Maria said, like, but like, don't get me wrong, there's some low density energies that will scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
But there are things that, like the things that you were saying, like you looked at that like confirmation, right?
Yeah.
Like lights flickering. I think, was it our second or third where we went actually to a facility where we were working with the fire element?
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy shit too.
Interesting.
Right?
But I was so, like that first, you was like, yeah, I have a Reiki practitioner. He's like, meeting him. I was like, no, this is like the real deal for real.
Yeah. My man, Dr. Ebro. Yeah. With the energy. God rest. So yeah.
So I was sold from day one. The introduction was from somebody who I know, like, and trust. So when he alley-ooped the introduction, it was like, well, if he brought you to the party, then you must be an distinguished guest, and I should be as open and receptive as possible. Like, it doesn't benefit me to be standoffish when I've seen, my mom had a tumor the size of a softball. This is when I was like maybe 8, 9, somewhere in there. For my mom to get surgery, my oldest brother was going to have to leave school for a while to take care of me and my younger brothers, help with my mom, because, dad ain't around type of thing. And at the time, that's when we first got into church. So this is like coming off of Buddhism. We maybe practiced Buddhism for like maybe a year, 2 years, something like that. And when we found Christianity, it was warning. It was so new, this concept of God being this omnipotent, omnipresent entity. And my mom's belief was so high, the tumor disappeared. She went to the doctor for like the follow-up. They were going to do the whole biopsy thing and so forth and so on. It's no tumor. So it was like, to see that at a young age, knowing that there's something else, even though we can't see it, we don't all have the language to explain what that is. That is something. That belief is not relegated to one sector. So it's like seeing these things for myself, hearing the near-death experiences, having my own brush-ins with certain situations that's like, nah, that was protection, like, for real. So it's like one of them things where, birds of a feather flock together and all of that good stuff. I just seen the feather like, nah, he one of the people in the V. When they make the formation, it's like, nah, he one of the people in the V, and I always saw you as like the tip. It's like, nah, you've been through the fire, you've been through it. So there's nothing hokey or spooky or it's none of that. I already had my own like baseline experience.
Yeah.
You like telling me stuff that's like, shit. After my mom passed, I'm looking at God like, the fuck? I'm like, damn, you be talking to girl like that? You know what I'm saying? But when you locked in, you know that decorum and posturing and all of that stuff it's a big part of being in a religious practice because we're practicing how to be more religious than the person that's the most religious in the church. Deacons, pastor, the trustees, the whoever. So I took you as like a no bullshit, no frills, tried and tested. I got the war wounds to prove it type of person. And I'm like, nah, I have to at least be around. Like I told you, when you hit me and my wife know you involved in whatever, she like, yeah, shit about to shift. Yeah. Something about to change. Something about to happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's something to be said. Yeah. That it's not no hokey spooky shit. It's just when you know, you know.
Yeah. Which is good. And that's like so much love coming. Yeah. I can feel that, bro. I appreciate it.
You
know.
You know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That part.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, I know we talked about you went into the whole student and teacher part, right? And then I went off on some on the fact of like, wow, you stood around after like
seeing all of that
shit. Crazy shit was happening. And it wasn't just there. It was also like, even like when I was mentioning about the fire element, when we were working in the fire element, like you saw stuff moving and energy moving in the room that was not of the norm. But we also got word that because we were working with the fire element, I think acres like got burned in the area that day.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and then
crazy.
Yeah, and then I had sent you a text that day that the actual the other practitioner, Melissa, that she was there with doing the energy work, that her machine, washing machine, caught on fire. A dryer caught on fire that day.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
that scan. The scan. Woo. Yeah. Cause we just sitting there, and she's like, "Oh, well, I'm noticing blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, that's me." Like she's like, "Oh yeah, I see it right here." And then when she showed it where the thing was exactly where I was.
Oh, you talking about Kim? That was
crazy.
Else. Yeah. The energy
and that that night, you had held space on the phone.
Oh, via the Zoom.
Yeah, and the next day you had called me and was like, "Yo, remember that call we was on? This happened." I was like, "What?" Yeah. So it ain't. If anything, it intrigued the shit out of me to like want to be more with the teachings, to be more with the lessons, because I know what I know, and I also know that what I do know, I know I don't know shit. So knowing that I don't know this space and watching how you navigate through it, you don't ever come off as like a know-it-all. You don't come off as like, well, shit, I'm righteous and I'm holier than thou, and I done been through all of this shit, which is what I appreciate. You know what I mean? Like, source know what's up. Yeah. And the type of person that I am hard-headed. I do hear
same here
with the hard head, and I needed a teacher that's like, I know that hard head shit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I know
that shit.
And sometimes there are things that, you know, question your idea of what reality is.
Yeah.
And when they shift in like a dramatic way, your brain has a hard time reconciling. Right. And so like I always go off a way where I share my experience, but never to say like this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because nothing is supposed to be like anything.
Yeah.
Everything is always continually always evolving and always expanding and always, you know, changing.
That's
right?
True.
And it's like what they talk about, like the Spider-Verse, right? The multiverse. Like it's just all these different webs that continue to like just expand more and more and more and more. Yeah. As we can make a decision right now that it can change into like 5 different things.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's always changing. So for somebody to say like, oh, they know it all, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, no, nobody knows.
Wasn't even here to be.
Yeah. The only thing we can do is be honest with ourselves, saying like we don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with learning and be open to like explore more.
Yeah.
And not allow my preconceived programming to say this is real, this is fake, to get in the way of me actually experiencing something new.
True.
Because one of the things that I realized for me, like as things were unraveling, and even in the church, there were some things that would happen that was even hard for the people in church to believe. But you believe that Jesus resurrected.
Yeah.
Right? You believe that he rose Lazarus.
Yeah.
You believe that before he ascended, he said that you would do greater things than I. But why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
And why aren't you okay with somebody sharing their experience that they saw this or they experienced that?
Yeah.
Because they happened to you and you're scared, you're afraid.
Because
right?
they don't believe.
Yeah.
They don't believe.
They don't really believe. The only thing that they have, or most, I don't want to say all, most people having religion is a way for them to give up their personal responsibility. And they give it all, just give it all to Christ.
Yeah, for the devil.
Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But just give it all, give it. And it's because they're afraid of their own personal responsibility. They're afraid to look at themselves in the mirror. They're afraid to see, like, you've been a fucked up individual.
That's true.
But you also been a loving individual.
True.
And you all of that. You're the good, you're the bad, you're the stuff in between. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, and allow yourself to experience. People are afraid of that.
Yeah.
They're afraid to look at that devil that they are.
Which is weird to me, because everybody brings up Saul. Everybody brings up Saul. Saul was a murderer. He was killing shit. And God pricked his heart.
Yeah.
So
look at King David. You know, everybody talks about King David. The same thing.
His father was like,
King. Fucking King David freaking had his boy murdered because he wanted to marry his woman. And then impregnated her too. Like, there's a lot of drama in the Bible that you're like, God damn.
It's telenovela.
Right? Yeah, it really is.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Next level.
That's a
no way allowed. Yeah. Next level one. But there's stuff on there that, you know, people don't read it.
Yeah.
So they don't know. But when they start reading it, they be like, what the fuck? This was going on back then. But guess what? David was a man after God's own heart. Like, this person was described as somebody that will open worship and dancing. He looked like a drunken person dancing in the spirit, right? You get what I'm saying? So he just wasn't a spiritual person, but he had his demons. He had his bad stuff that he did that he had to work through. And like, even now when that happened, he reconciled, he prayed, he worked through it, and then God blessed him with another kid. Like, it's okay for you to fuck up, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, people don't think it's okay.
Yeah.
And they try to blame everything outside of themselves. And they say, oh, that's the devil.
Yeah.
Oh, that's evil. And how about if you take a second to look in the mirror and truly touch it, everything that you are, you realize that you're the devil?
Yeah.
And people will be so fucking scared to realize that I'm not no devil. You are your own devil.
That's a fact.
Look at it. Really sit down and think about it and work through it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I would say on the opposite side of that. You are your own God too.
That's a fact.
And so, like, these are things that people want to. What? You're your own God.
How you call yourself God?
Blasphemy. Like, but they're okay with me saying that I'm my own devil, though.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be like, oh, well, that's some dark shit.
Yeah.
But say that you're your own God. Like, whoa, wait a minute. You ain't God. Like, God's supposed, like, listen.
I'm not the God.
But I'm a God.
I am a.
Yeah.
I mean, we are.
Yeah, we are.
Image, right?
Yeah. And this is a topic that's not talked about, right? And so, like, realizing your creative power, like, and the Bible talks about, you know, you are created in God's image. The Bible talks about that God spoke things into existence.
Yeah.
Like, this is the power that we all have if we're made in someone. How can you be made in the image and likeness of God?
It don't got no
can't do shit
nothing.
God can do.
Nothing. I'm going to give my brother.
Yeah.
Word. I thought you said you could fight.
Yeah.
One second.
Oh, no, wait. That shit brought back bad memories. My brother used that one a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my brother. I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to kick somebody ass.
I'm going to have to go fight
Yeah,
somebody.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or get my ass kicked. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. So it's like one of those things that gets me is that, like, how can you be made in the likeness and in the image of this entity, this God that, you know, is spoken about, and you have none of the likeliness of it.
Yeah.
You can't do any of it.
That's true.
And it sets you apart. It puts you smaller. But then when you take the actual personal responsibility to cross that bridge to say, like, no, I want to learn this. Even if you don't have to say, oh, I'm a God. You don't have to say that.
Yeah.
Humbly approach this in an experiment.
Yeah.
Humbly. Like, God, because I was scared to even me saying this.
Yeah.
Now, this is the crazy thing. I was so, like, I told you, I cursed out God. We argued for 3 years.
Yeah.
Man, what the fuck? Like, but I was afraid to say me and God are one. Like, truly know that.
Yeah.
I was afraid to say, like, I am God. I am a God.
Yeah.
Like, I am in God's image.
Yeah.
I was afraid. Like, it was so hardwired inside of me. Like, so hard. Yeah. Like, and it's hard for other people to, like, even accept that. But even if you don't want to use the word that, start practicing the things that they said that you are.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't got to say that I'm a God. You don't have to say that, oh, I'm a God or the God. You don't have to say none of that.
Yeah.
Practice the things that they said God can do. Yeah. Practice the bringing things into reality, manifesting your reality. Yeah. Practice using your words to speak things into existence. Yeah. Practicing putting your hands on people and healing. Practice on praying and actually moving mountains. Practice that. Yeah. Practice the things that they said that you can do. Yeah. You don't have to call yourself a God. You don't have to call yourself anything. Yeah. But at least do the things that it says that your Bible says you can do, right? Because you're made in the likeness, so you should be able to do it.
And I feel like it's so much BS around. There's so much man influence with spiritual practices that a lot of that gets lost in the mud and muck of man ideology versus like what actually is. What actually is there's trees outside that breathe out something that we breathe in, that we breathe out something that they breathe in. If that ain't God, I don't know what is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's certain things when you think about your body, your hair grows, you don't think about your hair growing, your eyes blinking, your eyes watering up so it's enough moisture, the saliva in your mouth so when you eat your food, it does what it does, how it breaks down in your body, your cells doing all of what they do because you got fingernail cells and skin cells and blood cells and blah, blah, blah. We don't think about none of that shit on a daily basis, but it happens. What is that? You get me? So it's like to think that we are so small, but we have so much greatness just packed in this one thing. Just breaking it down on all your nervous system. Just alone. Each hair having its own connection to a nerve. Insane. There's like thousands of hairs. I don't know how many we have, but it's also an antenna. It's insane to me to think like how little of ourselves we think when it comes to this grandiose space. It's literally space. My dad said this, and it's the illest line my dad said. My dad said God was so dope that in order to create something, he had to create nothing first to put something in. I'm like, yeah, that is bad. And I'm made in that. So I can take nothing, raw ingredients in the kitchen. I can take these ingredients and chef up a whole something else. Come on. That's not something to overstep. Like we do it on a regular basis that we just don't see that we do it. And like I was saying, my point with it being convoluted with man's energy, it's so much bullshit in there. How can you see the greatness that you are when you got all that bullshit in front of it first? Because you live here, your parents are this, you come from this neighborhood, your culture is this, you live, you know what I'm saying? Like all of those things that come before what really is, before anything else. We was somewhere before we got here, and we going back there when we leave. Wherever that somewhere came from, all of us came from there. Everything came from there. So it's like, God is in everything, but not me. Weird.
It's not weird.
Weird.
I mean, if you look at it that way, but it's by design.
That's a fact.
You know, it's by design, because that's a perfect statement right there. God is in everything, right? Everything comes from God, right?
Mm-hmm.
But God is not in me, and me and God aren't one. How does that make sense? That doesn't. It doesn't fucking make sense.
Yeah.
Right? But it's done that way by design to cause that separation from yourself. you know. And then what you do now, you go into religion and you give all your power away, because you have to speak. Let's say the Catholic, right?
Yeah.
You have to speak to a priest in order to confess your sins, and then do some Hail Marys or whatever in order. Or you got to go and repent in the Christian church and go to the altar and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. There is actually some beauty when it comes to repentance, right? And to like, but actually that's a whole nother conversation.
Turn away.
When, you actually like, I see, boom, I got the wisdom, boom, boom. That has no longer has any power over me. I no longer have that attention on me. A lot of people look at sin as like, you didn't meet these parameters.
Yeah.
I think you and I spoke about this a few weeks ago when we were talking. I was telling you that the original meaning for sin is missing the mark. What mark are you missing?
Yeah.
The mark of being who you truly are. And so when you act outside of who you truly are, your true essence, that's sin. And remember, and coming into remembrance by repentance is turning away and coming back to self, and actually connecting to who you truly are. Not the lies that you've been fed. And the thing is, like in this physical body, especially through like DNA and all the you know the genetic makeup that we have, we also have the memory that passed down by our generations to generations to generations. So when we come here and the spirit activates this technology that we call a body, it's all those memories also are there. The emotions are also there. Like and at first I'm like, this is bullshit. But I remember the first time I was in a deep meditation, and I tapped into sadness. Now, I've been in deeper meditation where it has nothing to do with physical body or any ancestors or anything. But in this particular case, it was going into I saw my mother. I saw my mother in a shower with me in her belly from the outside. And I saw her crying. And I saw her crying over my father, which wasn't in the picture. He pregnant, disappeared, no longer in the pictures, and then was wound up being in prison and all this. Yeah, it's a whole nother story. But I felt her sorrow and her pain in that meditation. I saw her. Yeah. Now, I've never been in the place that this happened. But then I also had another meditation that I saw me in a crib as a baby, like an infant, you know? And I brought this up to an aunt of mine. I'm like, did we ever live in a place where in the shower it looked like this, it looked like that, the curtains look like that? And she's like, how the fuck you knew that? Like, what the hell? Because I saw it in my inner eye. Now, she happens to be in, like, the Pentecostal. She's actually been to read the Christian, actually invited me to the church when I actually got into the church. So for her, it was just like, church just chalked it up to like, okay, that's
a weird coincidence.
Yeah. But not to the point like, this fool saw her in freaking meditation. What the hell? Like that.
So they don't talk about the Akashic records and all that other stuff.
They don't talk about the energy is always there. You can tap into it if you have the right frequencies and the right, you know, it's a whole nother, you know, I hate using words like frequency and patterns because everybody uses it. That's true. But it's the truth. Frequency and vibrations. It is. Yeah. But so again, this is one of those things like the law of attraction and stuff like that. Like it's thrown out there in such a way to discredit it, right? But when you actually tap into certain frequencies and vibrations, and you actually learn how to work with energy and even your own voice. Yeah. Just being inside. People who talk about like mantras and humming and this, like, oh, that's some yoga. No, you are tuning yourself. Yeah. Like literally, you can get into such a place where you no longer have a body, you just a vibration. And you just, and you're in that space, and you can feel the energy, that you can feel the information, you can feel the everything that's coming to you, and then you also see how these things turn into a scene. Yeah. And like people think about these scenes, what we call memories, right? And this is good that we're coming back around because you mentioned something that I wanted to talk about. The statement your dad had made that you said it was a dope statement. But we have these scenes in our minds that we call memories, but these scenes don't go anywhere. Why you think that we can tap back into them? Yeah, because they're there. So the infinite, but you have the power to go in and to tap that scene, learn from it, collapse it, dissolve it, and take the energy and the wisdom from it. Yeah. But instead, you don't. You have like a freaking file cabinet of shit that's in your space. Yeah. Now, talking about what your dad said about got so dope that he created an empty space in order to create what he's gonna put into that empty space.
Facts.
That's the same thing with what we would call the human imagination, right? It's the same thing. We take it very lightly that when we think about something, we can create it. Like a couch.
Yeah.
Like somebody thought about that.
That's true.
And then it was created.
Yeah.
How was that even taken lightly? It was taken from a place that was thought, the unseen world. And all of a sudden it's here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when it comes to shirts, when it comes to shoes, that's not light. We shouldn't be taking that light. That is creation power.
It's a fact.
And it's coming from a thought.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing happens when we go into our thought, into this realm of thought. The human imagination is what's creating this reality.
Yeah.
And as a collective, we create the reality.
Yeah.
And as an individual, we create a reality. We can choose to focus just on ourselves and create our own individual experience.
Yeah.
And be in a secluded bubble and just see what it is that we want to see.
Like conception.
Yeah. Like we can literally go. Let's go to an island. There's just you and me, you, your family, me and my family. Let's go over here. We won't see nothing else.
Yeah.
We won't see the news. Doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah.
But it no longer affects us because we're no longer part of it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with everything else, with the human imagination, what we're creating. Everything is all happening at one time. This ain't no yesterday or, everybody talk about time. It's not yesterday, tomorrow. Everything is all happening. It's just like, what are we being aware of in this certain point in time?
Yeah.
And that's what we're co-creating, like us having this video right now.
Yeah.
We're co-creating this. We're here. Our energies are mixing to create what we're doing right now. So it's the same thing that goes with the thought process. What you were talking about, your dad mentioned the fact that, I created this empty space to then create what it is that he's going to put in that empty space. It's the same thing with our thoughts.
Yeah.
And most people have been robbed of their thoughts.
Yeah.
And their thoughts are also being put information in.
That's true, man. I was telling my guys the other day, we were having a discussion, and I was telling one of my guys how we're programmed by the music. And he's like, how we programmed by the music? Because we were talking about the state of hip hop and where it's at and who's to blame for the state that it's currently in. And I'm like, obviously the people who program it. And he's like, program it? Yeah, because if music by far is one of those things that unifies everybody, you can play something that has no words, but it has mad emotion in it, mad feeling in it. The frequencies that it hits, the changes, the octaves, the chords that play together, so forth and so on. If we can vibe just off of a beat, what happens when you got to beat that vibe and you have lyrics playing in the background that you're not really paying attention to, but you hear it so many times, now it becomes a part of your lexicon. You don't even know it. You riding around the drill music, you don't even know why you trying to fuck up the ops. What are ops? I don't even know what ops are. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, powers that be know how powerful the song is. The fact that we all have a note to sing in this symphony called life. You got a note, I got a note, everybody got a note. To manipulate how everybody's notes mix with each other, that's some bad shit. Not like bad, like evil, but that's some boss level shit. Cause you like, yo, wait a minute, play that. Watch what they do. Watch what they do. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It gotta be like, you have to be tapped in order to be able to manipulate it at that level.
It's tapped in. It's also, you're no longer ignorant.
Yeah.
Right? You're no longer ignorant to what it. This is why a lot of elitists, they say they don't believe in God.
Yeah.
But they do believe in God, but in their way. They don't believe in the religious.
Yeah.
That's because they understand their power. They understand what it is, how the mind works, how energy works, how the frequency, how's the observer, anything works. They understand. This is, gentlemen, I don't know if you heard of him, Edward Barney, right? And so I was just talking to a lady about him the other day because they were talking about women smoking, right? And I said, well, do you even know how it started? When women started actually smoking, like in America, how it started? She's like, no. Well, this guy, his name is Edward Barney. He what he did was there was an Easter Sunday, and he got a group of models. This is like in the early 1900s, like 1927, some shit like that. And they did like a march, right? And so he paid the models to smoke a cigarette, and this is supposed to be a symbol of their liberty. So it was the self-empowerment thing, right?
Yeah.
And so like most women, and not to say that this is not the case, women do get suppressed. Women all over the world for a very long time, and that's another conversation. I could talk about the history about the first shamanic shamans and priests. They were women.
Yeah.
Like they weren't men, you know? And so like women do get suppressed, but that's because of their how much energy that they have, and how that chaotic energy is called, right? That chaotic energy, if not properly used, it could cause chaos in a very crazy way. Now, to me, existence is organized chaos. So that energy, when harnessed and used properly, it's a beautiful thing. But I think a long time ago, what happened was men got afraid of it, so they start suppressing the women and their powers and what it is that they can bring into the table. But in this particular case, Edward would, and so let me mention this, he's actually Sigmund Freud's nephew.
Oh.
And you didn't know about him, but you know Sigmund Freud.
I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You think that's accident? No.
Yeah.
That's by fucking design as well.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Sigmund Freud, but nobody knows his nephew and how his nephew played a big picture in the evolution of the United States. And so like this, what he did was he knew the psychological effects. He knew what caused how the human ticked because of his uncle, right? And his uncle studied that shit to the point where he was like, I hate humans, right? That's how much he studied it, right? Man. Like humans are disgusting, right? And so he used all these things. He used these things to then manipulate everything. So this gentleman is actually known as the father of propaganda. He created propaganda. He created news. He knew how to put the stuff out there to get people into a certain state.
Yeah.
And so like people don't understand this. And then furthermore, let's talk about like when the whole thing was happening with Hitler, how they changed the frequencies and how they broadcast.
Yeah.
People don't understand, like the frequencies would change.
Yeah.
And so those frequencies make you very erotic. And now you have
432.
I think they change. It's supposed to be 432.
Or they changed it from something to
like
8 sharp or some shit like
that. Yeah. So they changed it. I don't have the exact. I think 432, and they made them like 434 or some shit like that. Yeah. But it was, the point is like just that small change. Yeah. What it caused was like the brain to be erratic, the energy, the frequency, the alpha waves, and everything to just be crazy. On top of the fact you got fear all over the fucking place. Very easy to program everybody. Yeah. So they realized like people could be very easily programmed when they're in a state of fear, when they're in a state of lack, when they're in that state of desperation of trying to survive, and then you give them something that satiates them. It could be smoking a cigarette.
Bad food.
Yeah, it could be bad food. Like it could be so many different things, but this was used to do what it is that has been done to the humans, the mankind, that it's like, what happened? Yeah. Like literally, like in 100 years, we've been programmed to a point where we are today, where we have no idea of our capabilities. We have no idea of what it is that we can do. We have no idea the power of our words. We have no idea where we look at. Just observe. We have no idea of that power, you know? And what's coming to me right now, it's like, and this is for everybody listening to, like whenever you get the opportunity, take the time to observe yourself in your thoughts and observe what it is that you want to create. Just observe. If you want to create, let's say this studio be blown up and we own the whole fucking building, right? Yeah. If you want to see it, observe that. Observe that in your inner mind, because you are the observer. And the more that you observe this shit, the more you start to create. People, we talk about visualization, right? And visualization works, but why does it work? Yes, it makes neurosynapses because the body doesn't know the difference, and the emotions run through the body, and your nervous system doesn't know, so it starts to create it, and it creates an electrical pool. They start ringing everything. All that, yes. And you are observing it. You are observing. You are observing everything in this creation as you are aware of it. Yeah. So as you become aware, you observe this thing that you're creating. You observe whatever it is that then you can take on the feeling of it. Then you can take on being in that experience. Yeah. And as you do that, you start to boom, bringing it closer and faster. Start pulling that stuff closer, faster and closer to you, because now you're realizing like,
it's lined up.
Yeah.
It's not erratic and calm or erratic and calm. It's like calm and facts.
Yeah. And so when that coherence comes in, like it's automatic. You observe, boom, feel, bomb, done.
That's true.
And how do you feel?
Yeah.
It's the thing too.
Yeah.
How do you feel? I remember the first time that I felt good.
Mm.
I didn't realize that I didn't feel good.
Really?
I didn't realize I didn't feel good until I felt good.
Yeah.
And my heart felt open out. I could do it right now. I breathe and I could feel the tingliness in I'm like, oh, man, I feel good.
Yeah.
Open up.
Expansive.
Yes. I can open up my chest. I don't feel like, no, I can feel. I feel fucking good.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I didn't realize that I was so compressed. I was so trapped. Like, had all this tightness. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how fucking tight I was. I didn't realize that I didn't feel good. I didn't realize that I felt like, until that weight was lifted, I didn't realize that it felt like I had a freaking 3-ton truck on my chest.
Damn.
Like, I felt something. I'm not going to say like I didn't feel anything. No. But to the extent, I didn't know.
Yeah. It's a different kind of freedom.
Yeah. And when I felt that open up and that heart open up, and I'm like, holy smoke. Then when the mind got clear and the mind was able to open up and be in that clearness, and then the heart come together and feel that heart-mind coherence, and then that sphere around you, and you feel that energy and that fucking power that you are, it's next level. Yeah. It's next level. And now you can have a good conversation with somebody without being afraid of saying specific things, because you experience yourself. Nobody can tell you this experience until you experience it. And when you experience, you're like, holy shit. For me, for the first time, it was like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck? The first time that I put my hands on somebody to like do healing, it was in a public place. And I didn't know this was going to happen, but I just happened to be there. A lady's catching a seizure. She was with her daughter, her son, they were older. And like, this little voice comes in. I want you to get up and I want you to go ask permission to put your hands on her back and just like follow the lead. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. I just got up. And that happened because I already had released so much of the doubt and everything through doing my own space and journey. You know what I'm saying? So I got up and I just went, do you mind if I put my hand on your mom? And she's there seizing out and everything. They're like, no, do whatever the fuck you want. Like, they're panicking too. All I did was put my hand on her back, and then Spirit was like, just breathe into your heart and just let the energy flow through you. And I felt those come out of my hand, hit her in the back, and she was like, took a gasp of air. She peed her pants, and boom, done. Yeah. Like if nothing ever happened. Yeah. And everybody's looking like, what the fuck this guy just did? And they're like all freaking out. What the hell?
Pull up next week. I'm about to walk and change the law.
Nah, I set my ass down and I'm looking at everybody looking all funny, and I'm like, check, please, let me get the fuck out of here. But that was the first time something like that had happened to me. Yeah. And that happened because I was no longer in that fear, in that space of fear, you know, in that space of doubt. Yeah. I had just had an experience like a week ago where I opened up my heart, my mind was open, I felt expansive. So I was walking in that confidence. I was walking in that what people call locked in, tuned in. Yeah. Right? So I felt that. I felt the power when I walked. Yeah. Like I felt the energy when I walked into a room.
Oh, so it's not just where you at, it's
yeah. And so like feeling that and being in that state, now I'm no longer contracted. I'm no longer in fear. No longer in that old program that they put most of us through to keep us suppressed, to keep us down in that low vibration, to keep us controlled, to keep us like manipulated. And like people don't even realize the amount of energy that we have and the energy that we secrete and we let out when we're pissed off, when we're angry, when we're all this, and all that energy is in the field. That energy is being used for whatever purposes, you know? And so like, you know, like we're energetic people, man. They're energetic beings. People don't, Like each cell in our body,
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
0.7 volts. And like the scientists like, yeah, but they can't be used and this and that. Like can't be all activated at the same time. If, hypothetically, these 37.5 trillion cells are activated, it's 2.5 volts of electricity.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And we have a significant more amount of cellular activity because we have melanin. It's a superconductor. It's fucking carbon. It's, the whole planet is based on it. It's insane.
Yeah.
I'll put you on this guy, Key Awaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, well, you know, us, we got about 150 of them. So imagine that. And most of it is bacteria and all the other stuff that, but that stuff is the stuff that, like, how do you explain mucus? Like, mucus has its own signature. It's basically like a homie to your body. Like, oh, shit fucked up. I'm gonna have to pull up.
Yeah.
Get rid of this, get rid of that. I'll take care of it. Sneeze. I'll take care of it. Cough.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it. Defecate. You know what I'm saying? It's insane to think like how much of it we have. We have so much of it. We don't know what to do.
Yeah.
We don't even, like you said, we don't even know we got it.
Yeah.
To be able to even activate it. Like, I want to fly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Travel.
Yeah.
In the same place.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No.
You know?
Yeah. But I would say just form that experiment with yourself.
Yeah.
And for everybody watching, form that experiment with yourself. Like the whole thing with like we have to do with everything that we've been taught because everybody's been doing it for a certain amount of time and it's supposed to be like this. This is what we do it like this. That no longer is the case, bro. And that's why a lot of us growing up, we were so rebellious.
Yes.
That's why we got in trouble. I was not a good student in school, bro. Like I got kicked out of school. You know what I'm saying? Like constantly arguing with the teachers. I still remember vividly having an argument with one of my maths in the 6th grade. I'm in the 6th grade arguing with a grown man about a math question that he's saying it has to be done this way. And that's it.
Yeah.
The way you did it doesn't work for every equation.
Yeah.
Okay, give me an equation.
Yeah.
Did it. Give me another one. Did it. Give me another.
Oh, you're trying to be a smart ass, huh?
That's it.
Move to
Mr. Cologne, sit down.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, why? Because you're wrong. That's when I got kicked out. Mr. Cologne, get out of here. Go to the principal's office. You know. So it was like, but this is now knowing what I know. It's I don't have resentment. You know, it's just like compassion. Like he had no idea.
True.
Like there's so many different things that all I have is compassion. No idea.
Yeah.
But in the space that we're in right now, what's happening in the collective, what's happening with everything, what's happening with everybody's awakening and the processes going on and the information that's being shared. Yet I still have compassion, but wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
And let's get shit in motion.
Yeah.
And don't do it like everybody else. Do it just like you.
Yeah.
Do it just like you. Do it just like do it your way.
Yeah. And
how you do that? By having an experiment. Experiment with yourself. Like don't, and it's so important. This is the other part. Everybody talk about authenticity. That there's certain keywords that I be hearing that like drive me crazy because people use it in a way that it's just like but you don't know what's authenticity. But authenticity, us being in a place where we're talking about right now, actually experimenting, allowing yourself to be authentic is key. Because me being authentic allows you, or invites you, invites you to now navigate things that you probably wouldn't navigate because you didn't have the reflection.
True.
So if I'm authentic, you're authentic, next person's authentic, the next person authentic. We encourage each other to do things that's not the norm.
True.
Because we're being authentic. And how do you evolve? By not doing the norm.
That's true.
You know, I think Einstein talked about it when he said, you can't solve a problem in the same state that
created it. Yeah.
It's the same thing with creation in general. Like, how do you expect to have an expansive, a beautiful, golden age, everything that people, talk about?
If you don't elevate. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're not doing things differently.
Yeah.
And if the only way you can do things differently, if you have the cojones, right? Or that rebellious thing inside of you, like, I'm not going to pay attention to everything that everybody else do.
Yeah.
I want to try this for myself.
Yeah.
Like, I want to try for my own experience. Let me try this. Let me navigate. Without fear. Without all those encumbersome shit that they put on you. No, just go. Try it out for yourself. And then you start to realize who you are. And your authenticness is going to help the next person.
Yeah, give them permission. Yeah.
And then you start to, like, realize that, like, oh, shit. Like, because I was authentic, now this person has a completely new view of who he is or who she is.
Yeah.
What they're here, what they're called to do. And as we start doing that, we all start being our authentic selves.
Yeah.
Like, we will elevate. Like, and it's going to happen so fast.
True.
Like, so fast.
True.
It's going to happen so fast that what people call the opposition is going to be like, hold on, wait a minute. You're moving too fast for me.
Stop.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah. I had a conversation with my mom a couple weeks ago. Because she's like, you know, my mom was retired. She moved down to Virginia. She's like, yeah, I don't know what it is I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, you're supposed to do whatever you choose. I'm like, my mom is like one of my biggest cheerleaders. Like, when I was in the rap industry, when I was doing every phase of my life, my mom has been like that supportive person. And I'm like, you cheer me on with all of this stuff that I'm doing. Where do you think I got it from? I'm like, if my DNA came from you and my dad, I think it's safe to say the apple ain't far from the tree. She's just like, yeah. And I'm like, maybe this was the call to give you the permission to experiment. You don't have no time constraints. There's nobody you have to take care of. It's just you and your dogs and your cat. It's very spacious where you are right now. My apologies. It's very spacious where you are. Take the space. Take the time to make the space. Figure out what it is that comes alive in you. My mom is artistic. She's creative. She's very literary. Like, when it comes to putting words down on paper, I'm like, Mom, just use this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, just use this as the permission to for your second lap or your second win. I can understand as a parent, especially a parent from back then. Our parents were so indoctrinated in the program that that's all they knew how to teach. When you don't have your kids to take care of, you spend your whole life as the identity of a dad or the identity of a mom. There's a person before all of that shit. That is the place that will suit all of us best. Because, yeah, I'm a father, but the person in me allows me to be a good dad. The person in me allows me to field all of these different places of where my energy goes. So it says a lot. After that conversation is like, Mom, write that book. Go ahead and do that. My mother got a story. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Having 4 boys bringing bricks back and forth from the Bronx in the 80s. Come on. You know what I mean?
Shit from my uncle.
Facts. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I wholeheartedly understand what you mean by that permission. When you really coming from here, there is no thought in the world that can interrupt that transmission. It's not gonna happen. The transmission is just like, oh, nah, we lit. Is that me? We lit. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. Ooh, man, that's so good. You know, as you sharing that, the imagery that I got was about the elephant. Have you heard about the story about how they train the elephants?
No.
So when the elephants are small, what they do is they put a chain around them, right? And then they put a pick on the floor, and they can't move. So the chain's around them, and the stick is on the floor, And so now, when they're little, that's fine. It's cool. They can't move.
Yeah.
But they grow up to be these 2, 3, 4 ton freaking beasts.
Yeah.
That thing is not holding them back. That chain and that stick on the floor is no longer holding them back.
True.
But since they've been trained that way for so long, they can have all the space in the world. You could put them in the freaking in the Sahara and then put that there. They're not gonna move.
Yeah.
Because they think that they trapped there. So it's the same thing. Like you were talking about your mom having all this space now and having this ability, no time constraints, no nothing. But that program is there.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes we need to understand it from a logical standpoint, like us having this explanation, this story. You can look it up, like how they trained the elephants. And they train the elephants in this way so that when they're older, they don't. Imagine that, having that massive animal, you not being able to tame them. Like, they'll freak you. You can't control them to do what you want in your shows. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but they do that, and now this massive animal becomes this, this little
shell of what it could be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's the same thing that happens with the human, right? So they put you down this process of indoctrination and training to make you feel like you still have that stick on in that shackle that you don't need. That you don't need. Like that's not you. Like you take that off. Yeah. And if the elephant knew this, it would walk right off. It wouldn't even know that it was on him or on her. But they don't know. They've been trained, indoctrinated in such a way that this little shackle on their ankle and this stick on the floor is holding back that massive animal. Damn. Yeah. So this is a story that you can share with whoever it is that you feel needs to hear that. Yeah. Like, like if your mom, like, we could give them all the logical standpoint. And even if it's coming from the heart, your transmission was from the heart. You gave it to her, boom, as it's coming out, boom, boom, boom. There's still sometimes it won't penetrate because of they don't understand what happened to them. Yeah. And you can give all the beautiful words that come straight from the heart and it won't penetrate. Again, because the blocks are there. Yeah. They don't understand what happened to them. Yeah. But you break it down. This is what happened to you. And, when you can explain that to a brother and a sister, like, this is what happened. That is not you. Yeah. You are not this trapped being. Yeah. But no, like, let me take that off for you. Here. Yeah. Like, go. Yeah, that's a fact. Do your thing. That's a fact. Fucking thrive. Yeah. Don't survive. Thrive. Yeah. Thrive in your creation. Thrive in your life. Yeah. Thrive in your connections. Thrive in your business. Thrive in your sex life. Thrive in everything. Thrive. Don't try to survive. Just fucking live like this massive being that you are. Yeah. That's a fact. When the student is ready. Yeah. It's beautiful. I appreciate it, for real. Yeah, me too, man. This is awesome. Yeah, this is awesome. I think we should wrap it up. I think we went for a minute. Yeah. This is some good. Anything you feel like you want to share? Like to wrap this up, bring it home? Nah, I think I've said. Yeah. I think I've said a lot. This is a good. Yeah. This is good. This is real good. This is real good. It was and it's dope because I was like, oh, what topic are we gonna talk about? It's like, okay, let's just go off the last thing, which was, when the teacher's ready. I mean, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And obviously, it's the same thing. When the teacher's ready, the student will appear too. That's a fact. It's a co-creation always. See? Thanks. That's fire. Exactly. I appreciate it. Much love. Much love. Thank you. And to all of you guys watching, thank you again for another beautiful show. Until next time, sending y'all much love. God bless. Peace.